Hello and welcome to Nightline. I'm Brandon Wong. The top stories. 10 men charged with supporting the banned Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. And 177 areas in Selangor and Kuala Lumpur to experience water supply disruption on Thursday. Good morning. 10 men who were picked up in a police swoop earlier this month and detained under the Security Offences Special Measures Act (SOSMA) were charged in court in 5 states on Tuesday. They face various charges related to supporting the banned Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam (LTTE). In Malacca, 2 state assemblymen and a chief officer of a corporation was charged in court. Seremban Assemblyman P. Gunasekaran, 60, Gadik Assemblyman G. Saminathan, 34, and together with Green Technology Corporation CEO S. Chandru, 38, were charged with supporting LTTE during an event at Dewan Kasturi Ayakuro in Malacca on November the 28th last year. 2 charges were filed by the prosecution for their alleged involvement, one of which is for giving support to the terrorist group framed under Section 130J, subsection 1A of the Penal Code, which provides an imprisonment for life or for a term not exceeding 30 years, or with a fine, and shall be liable to forfeiture of any property used or intended to be used in connection with the commission of the offence if found guilty. Saminathan, who is also a Malacca State Executive Council member, was also charged with the possession of items associated with the terrorist group, which is an offence under Section 130JB, subsection 1A of the Penal Code, whereby those found guilty shall be punished with imprisonment for up to 7 years or with a fine, and shall also be liable to forfeiture of the items concerned. No plea was recorded for all 3 of them, and no bail was also set as they were detained under SOSMA, which does not allow bail. About 100 family members and supporters, including DAP advisor Lim Kit Siang and National Vice Chairman of DAP M. Kulasegaran, were present. Only family members and dignitaries were allowed into the court. The court set December 16 for remention. Meanwhile, S. Chandru was also brought to the Alor Gajah Sessions Court to be charged with possessing materials in a handphone related to LTTE. He was accused of committing the offence at number 15, lot 1802, Kampung Bukit Balai, Alor Gajah at 10:20 a.m. also on October the 12th. Meanwhile, in Sepang, a secondary school teacher, R. Sundram, 52, was also charged with possessing items related to LTTE. No plea was recorded from him. Sundram, who teaches English and physics, was charged with possessing the materials at a premise in Teluk Panglima Garang on October the 12th. His request for bail, as he has diabetes, was denied by the court as he was detained under SOSMA. However, the court ordered that he be given access to medical care. His case has been set for remention in court on December the 16th. Also in Selangor, scrap metal dealer A. Kalai Mugilan was also charged with 2 counts of possessing materials related to LTTE at the Selayang Sessions Court. The 28-year-old accused only nodded his head when the charges were read to him in court. According to the first charge, he was charged with possessing the materials at a house in Bukit Sentosa, Rawang. And in the second charge, he was charged with having the materials in a car at the same place on October the 10th. No bail was offered to the accused. In Kuala Kangsar, 2 men, technician S. Arivaintan, 27, and taxi driver V. Balamurgan, 37, were both charged with supporting LTTE. The suspects nodded their head and no plea was recorded from them. They were accused of doing so at an event in a hall in Kuala Kangsar on December the 28th, 2014. Balamurgan was also charged with possessing materials related to terrorism on his phone. The taxi driver also faced another charge of owning and displaying items related to LTTE at a premise on October the 10th. The judge set November 28 for remention and no bail was offered. In Segamat, Johor, dispatch rider S. Tiran, 38, was charged with possessing terrorism materials related to LTTE. He was accused of doing so at Jalan Genuang in Kampung Paya Pulai on October the 10th. The court set November 18 for remention of his case. In Butterworth, two men, security guard M. Pumagan, 29, and storekeeper S. Tanagaraj, 26, were charged in the Sessions Court with possession of paraphernalia related to LTTE. Pumagan was charged with 2 counts of having LTTE materials on his handphone on October the 12th and also keeping related items in a house in Bukit Mertajam. Tanagaraj, who was charged separately, was accused of storing LTTE materials at a company in Taman Sejahtera. Both were denied bail and their remention in court was set for December the 16th. A total of 177 areas in Selangor and Kuala Lumpur will experience temporary water supply disruption for 23 hours beginning Thursday. According to Pengurusan Air Selangor Sendirian Berhad or Air Selangor, this is due to serious leak at the Kepong Estate water pool. In a statement on Tuesday, Air Selangor said an emergency maintenance work is currently underway to replace the water sluice valve at the water pool. The water disruption will affect 120 areas in Gombak and 57 other areas around Kuala Lumpur, involving 119,630 registered customer accounts. Air Selangor said water supplies to all affected areas are expected to be fully restored by 8 p.m. on Friday. Those affected are advised to store adequate water supply for use during the disruption. Air Selangor will also be mobilizing water tanks, prioritizing premises with critical and urgent requirements. Customers may request for the emergency assistance via the WhatsApp application to the number shown on your screen. The number of flood victims in Peninsular Malaysia has soared to 2,081 people from 587 families as of 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday. According to the Social Welfare Department, the victims were evacuated to 21 temporary relief centres in 6 states, including Perlis, the latest to be hit by floods. The 5 other flood-affected states are Selangor, Johor, Perak, Pulau Pinang and Kedah. Selangor recorded the highest number of flood victims with 869 people, followed by Perak with 625 evacuees. In Kedah, 253 people were housed at 6 relief centres, while Johor recorded 160 evacuees. 2 relief centres were opened on the first day of floods in Perlis, which housed 142 people. Meanwhile, in Pulau Pinang, the number of evacuees has dropped to 32 people as the flood situation has improved in the affected areas. Authorities said floodwaters in many of the affected areas are at dangerous levels and they are closely monitoring the situation. The investigation by the Transport Ministry found no elements of sabotage in the recent glitch that affected the KL International Airport KLIA. Transport Minister Anthony Locke said the probe found that the failure of the total airport management system was due to a failure of the core network switches function and its inability to separate the core network.
Pihak polis setakat ini belum mengambil apa-apa tindakan ataupun dari segi pendakwaan. Siasatan masih diteruskan tetapi tindakan pendakwaan belum dijalankan lagi. Itu bermaksudnya belum ada sesiapa yang diimplicate dalam kes ini lagi. Hasil siasatan yang dijalankan, kegagalan rangkaian TAMS adalah disebabkan oleh kegagalan rangkaian Swiss Trust Core Network Switches untuk berfungsi dan ketidakupayaan untuk memesahkan rangkaian Swiss Trust tersebut. Swiss Trust tersebut telah pun beroperasi semenjak KLIA beroperasi pada tahun 1998 dan tidak diganti.
He also said the core network switches had been in operation since KLIA started operations in 1998 and had never been replaced. The minister was answering a question raised by Mersing MP Dato' Abdul Latif Ahmad in the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday. Locke said Malaysia Airport Holdings Berhad is looking into claims of losses suffered by the airlines. The KLIA system suffered a glitch between August the 21st and 30th, affecting important airport systems such as the flight information display, check-in counters and baggage handling. Gerakan has thrown its hat into the Tanjung Piai by-election by naming its Deputy Secretary General Wendy Subramaniam as its candidate. At an event in their headquarters, Gerakan President Dr. Dominic Lau Ho Chai said the 38-year-old lawyer from Johor was chosen to prove that women can be good leaders in society. The party also plans to use its own logo in the by-election. The Tanjung Piai by-election is scheduled for November 16, following the death of incumbent Datuk Dr. Mat Farid Mat Rafiq. Nomination is set for November the 2nd. The Datuk Sri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak 1MDB trial. The board of directors of One Malaysia Development Berhad was not informed of the decision to split a $1 billion funding meant for 1MDB Petro Saudi International PSI joint venture into $300 million and $700 million. Former 1MDB CEO Dato' Shahrul Azral Ibrahim Halmi said the bigger portion of $700 million eventually went to Good Star Limited, a company that was initially represented as a PSI subsidiary but later revealed to be owned by fugitive financier Lau Tek Jo, or better known as Jo Lo. Dato' Shahrul testified that consent from the board was not obtained before the split due to time constraints and the urgency to get things done. The ninth witness said, based on a Director's Circular Resolution, DCR, the board had previously authorized a lump sum of $1 billion to be paid only to the JV company, and in return, the company would receive 1 billion shares. He, however, could not tell who proposed the idea to split the fund, adding that he agreed to the split based on the assumption that nothing was wrong with the transaction. Dato' Shahrul said the decision was made after he was convinced by former 1MDB Executive Director Casey Tang, and given the fact that Jo Lo was in close contact with Dato' Sri Najib. The court heard earlier that the $1 billion split came about after Tang brought a document signed by PSI CEO Tariq Obaid to amend some of the clauses in the JV agreement. Dato' Shahrul said some of the amendments included changing the JV bank account from Banca della Svizzera Italiana BSI Bank to JP Morgan and the $700 million made payable to PSI. To suggestions by lead defense counsel Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdullah, Dato' Shahrul disagreed that he had knowledge about the fund split. He also disagreed that the decision to split the $1 billion payment for the JV company into $700 million and $300 million was reckless. On another matter, the witness said he was not interested to read the 1MDB report by the United States Department of Justice because it had accused him of being complicit in the $700 million transfer of 1MDB funds into Good Star in 2009. In the report, the DOJ dubbed Dato' Shahrul as 1MDB official number 2, while Tang was 1MDB official number 1. The hearing before Justice Colin Lawrence Sequeira resumes on Wednesday. New Straits Times Press Malaysia Berhad NSTP has lodged a police report at the Pantai Police Station over a bogus donation drive which used its name of one of its newspapers, the New Straits Times. The company in a statement said it was recently made aware of the matter by several people who had been approached by certain individuals claiming to represent the company. The individuals were collecting funds through the sale of dining tables, purportedly for a dinner ceremony which was said to be organized by NSTP in Kuala Lumpur. The bogus donation drive was disseminated via WhatsApp. The said individual demanded a sum of 550 ringgit to purchase a table for the said dinner and had asked for the amount to be deposited in his personal bank account. The police report said the company was made to protect the credibility of NST and that of NSTP, as the company was not organizing any dinner ceremony, as claimed neither did it appoint any individual to represent the company to solicit funds. Chinese national charged with causing death of motorcyclists. This and more home stories after this breather.
Kalau semua ejen dah pakai Iris, Mata perlukan saya lagi ke?
Kenapa semangat sangat nak kejar aku sampai sini?
Semua rimau aku serang, aku masih boleh tendang. Kalau nampak jangan cengang, kalau kacau benang kami nanti dengar gendang perang. Lepas lawan yang di sini lawan yang seberang. Kita jaga kita.
Welcome back. A woman, a Chinese national, was charged with drunk driving and causing the death of a motorcyclist in Jalan Datuk Keramat in Pulau Pinang on October the 25th. The accused, Liu Shasha, 24, pleaded not guilty to the charge. Liu was charged with driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs and failing to control her vehicle until it caused the death of a motorcyclist, Muhyiddin Ghani Muhammad, 58. She was denied bail and remention of her case was set for November the 8th to verify her passport. Meanwhile, the owner of the car was also charged with allowing Liu to drive it. Garrett Lim Nyan Siang, 23, pleaded guilty to the charge and was fined 1,500 ringgit. During the accident, he was in the front passenger seat. In the accident, the victim, who was a Pulau Pinang Island City Council worker, was waiting at a traffic light when a car rammed into him from the back, killing him. Muhyiddin Ghani was also the owner of the popular dessert shop Gerai Bubur Kamblis in Georgetown. An Indonesian farm worker died after he was believed to have been attacked by an elephant in Mersing last night. Mersing District Police Chief Superintendent Cyril Edward Nuing said the incident could have happened at around 8 p.m. near a farm in Lenggok, Jamaluang. The man, who was seriously injured, was rushed to the Mersing hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival. The victim was between 35 and 45 years old and was believed to be a worker at a nearby farm. In Kuala Lumpur, a policeman and his wife were killed after their motorcycle rear-ended a lorry at Jalan Said Putra on Tuesday. 30-year-old Lance Corporal Muhammad Syakiran Shamsuddin succumbed to his injuries while being treated at the University Malaya Medical Center, while his wife Nurul Ashikin Kamaruddin died at the scene due to severe head injuries. In the 8 a.m. incident, the couple's motorcycle hit the left side of the lorry, which was stationary due to traffic congestion. It is believed that Muhammad Syakiran tried to switch lanes when he accidentally hit the lorry. A principal of an orphanage organization was charged at the Klang Sessions Court on Tuesday with sexually abusing a 16-year-old girl last month in a meeting room at Jalan Haji Sirat Meru. The accused, Wan Abdul Hisham Wan Ahmad Tajuddin, aged 69, however, pleaded not guilty when the charge was read in front of Judge Razali Arifin. The charge was framed under Section 14, Subsection A of the Child Sexual Offences Act 2017. The judge then granted bail at 6,000 ringgit and ordered the accused not to approach or contact the victim during the proceedings. The Kuala Lumpur High Court on Tuesday dismissed a judicial review by 7 individuals on a smoking ban in food outlets that was enforced in January this year. Judge Datuk Sri Mariana Yahya ruled that the ban did not breach the people's right to liberty and equality enshrined by the Federal Constitution. Judge Datuk Sri Mariana said the Health Ministry, as the respondent, had taken into account public interest factors in enforcing the ban to protect the public from the danger of smoke from cigarettes. She also said the ministry was rational in setting the 3-meter distance from any table or chair which is placed for the purpose of preparing, serving or selling food in eateries for smokers to light up. Strong quake kills at least 7 in South Philippines. The details when we return. We begin our foreign segment in the Philippines, where a powerful 6.6 magnitude earthquake struck the southern part of Mindanao on Tuesday, killing at least 7 people, injuring hundreds of others, as well as causing structural damage to buildings. It came just over a week since a strong tremor jolted the same area and left 7 people dead. According to the United States Geological Survey, the quake struck 26 kilometers northeast of Tulunan in Cotabato province at around 9 a.m. local time. The shaking lasted up to a minute in some areas, damaging homes, multi-story buildings and classrooms. The earthquake also shook nearby provinces and cities, including Davao City, the hometown of President Rodrigo Duterte. Officials said most of the deceased, including a 66-year-old man and a 16-year-old student, were killed after being hit by falling walls and debris. Schools across the affected areas have been shuttered as a precaution, and residents have been advised to remain vigilant as several aftershocks are expected. Meanwhile, according to Wisma Putra in a statement, there has been no report of any Malaysians affected by the 6.6 magnitude earthquake in the east of Tulunan in North Cotabato, Philippines. The Foreign Ministry said it had been monitoring developments following the earthquake. It also said that Malaysians requiring consular assistance could contact the Consulate General of Malaysia in Davao City. The Foreign Ministry also conveyed sympathies and condolences to the government and people of the Philippines, in particular to those who had been directly affected. In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Boris Johnson's bid for a pre-Christmas election got a major boost Tuesday when the main opposition Labour Party said it would back a December ballot, almost guaranteeing an early election that will be dominated by Brexit. This came after Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn said he had changed his mind on a snap election following a 3-month Brexit extension that was granted by the European Union. The House of Commons is now set to vote again on Tuesday night on whether to hold an early ballot in mid-December, which would be the country's first general election in that month in almost 100 years. Earlier, the Commons backed the government's election motion by 299 to 70 on Monday, but it was well short of 2/3 of all 650 MPs whose support is needed to call an election under the Fixed-Term Parliaments Act.